Flyneau Reads 49 Hours by ScribeOfRhapsody. Today we're on Chapter 10, Hour 19 to 22 of 49. My name's Amanda.
And I'm Chris.
And let's get this started. As much as Arneo was loath to admit it, Loki did actually seem to know where he was going. The maze-like route, despite its indirectness, never led them into a dead end. Their progress across the city was slow, but it was progress, much to Ignis' obvious growing in unease. Again, this guy was great at keeping his facial expressions under control, but he had less of a handle on the set of his shoulders. He was seriously starting to worry now. Before, she'd seen him observing every angle, looking for any chance to turn things in his favor, but Loki pushing on so confidently despite the setbacks was concerning him. That and his element of surprise with his weapons were gone. Oh, Ignis was smart, but he made a mistake. He should have run as soon as he'd knocked out Biggs. He'd be free right now if he had.
Excellent.
Loki said as they reached a wall with more of the graffiti on it. The graffiti was directly above a dumpster, and Loki motioned to Biggs and Wedge.
Oh, that.
Loki was cut off by a glaive landing atop the dumpster with a loud thud, an envelope in hand. This is, Loosh. He's a douchebag.
No need.
He's a bit higher than that. Loosh has a high-pitched voice.
No need.
Although he's not nasally.
No need.
Good enough. He dropped to the ground, pulling off his hood. He surfed at Ignis and then at Loki.
Loosh? Loosh the douche.
No. Yes, Loosh. Ignis's tone was laced with disgust.
So you're involved with this as well.
Huh, so Loki had more than one source in the city. Arnea instinctively laid a hand between Ignis' shoulder blades, trying to calm him as he looked about ready to rush the glaive even with his hands tied. She doubted he would anyway, but still. Loosh mockingly bowed, then handed an envelope to Loki.
The general isn't pleased that how you handled events earlier.
Loki scowled.
I can assure you it was not planned. Well, improvise better.
Loosh snapped.
The rest of the glaive is more determined to find you than ever. The Lucian public is in an uproar over the Empire killing a civilian in cold blood. They're actively trying to find you now. All the more reason for us to keep moving. No. You're to reach the point on this map and stay put until dark.
Sensible. Why was that a change in plans? Why hadn't planned to start with?
You would have us take or leave of the city in the dead of night.
Loki demanded.
What of the demons?
Loosh rolled his eyes.
You'll take your leave of the city at dawn. You'll cross most of the city at night, usually on populated areas where you were supposed to have been flooded with Lucians searching for you now.
Oh right, Arnea almost snorted. They didn't want to leave the city drinking. Normally she'd get that. They knew how close her ship was. Did Loki not think they'd be able to make it that far? Amateur.
What's up?
I didn't think anything.
Oh. Then what's the alternative route we are supposed to use?
Loki questioned. Loosh rolled his eyes again.
It's all in the envelope. Please follow the instructions. We'll be at the gate at dawn, and we have the...
Not please. Loosh would never say please.
Sorry, whoops. It's all in the envelope. Just follow the instructions. You'll be at the gate at dawn, and we'll have the diversion ready. Now scram.
The Empire must have really wanted the information Ignis had in his head to go to this cunning to get him. At this point, there wasn't a lot anyone could do to make sure it wouldn't succeed. Solutions were good, but if the Empire had enough people in their ranks to create a diversion that would let Loki slip out of the city, there wasn't much hope left for Ignis at this point. They were only a few hours from the edge of the city. Again, Aranea looked to Biggs and Wedge and reminded herself why she had to go along with this. Him or them. Those were her only choices.
Oh no.
An office building. That was where they were supposed to hide out until nightfall. Again, Aranea hated what a good plan it was. Given the amount of time it had taken them to get here, the staff had already left. The building was empty, but in a populated living area, not somewhere the Glaive would expect to be. And it also served another purpose, a viewing point of most of the city from its glass-walled offices. Loki chuckled deeply, standing with arms spread out as he stood in the evening sun.
I'm just half expecting him to do that thing from the Titanic, and it's like, I'm part of me's hoping Biggs or Wedge just walks up to him and pushes him through the glass.
Yeah, preferably.
I find it funny how in every chapter we find a way that she could have killed off Loki.
Yep. Like, you could have killed him this way, or you could have killed him that way.
Or you could have, like, the world's smallest meteor come down and whack him in the head.
Yep. Oh, I saw a funny picture the other day, sorry for the side quest, of a meteor that was had a map in its hand, and it was a picture of Earth that said, Dino Land, come and join the adventure. And the meteor was happy, and it had a little Dino Land hat on, and so it was heading for Earth. And it was a joke about how, like, the meteor that came to Earth and killed the dinosaurs.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, so it's like he wasn't there to kill the dinosaurs, he wanted to come see the dinosaurs. He just didn't realize how deadly he was.
That's a whole different kind of rock concert.
Anyways, sorry for the side quest.
Why are you calling it a side quest?
Because I can't English.
Well, English is no fun anyway. I apologize to my English teachers for saying that. My former English teachers. You won't see this solution? This city. It will be such a spectacular sight once it's under Imperial rule. And you'll be the one to help us make it that way.
With her hold on his arm, Aranea could feel Ignis' pulse racing beneath her gloved fingers. His gaze was fixed on one part of the city in particular, the very close, very visible gate. His tight expression melted then, giving way to resignation as he whispered.
You'll gain no information from me.
His eyes no longer buried the fire it had, and Aranea almost wanted to slap him. He couldn't accept that torture was the only path open to him now. It wasn't right.
Oh, it's not the only path. It's just, I really don't want him to take the other path.
Don't hurt my heart. Besides her, Wedge's hands were balled into fists. Astrals was saving them even if they were going to have to live with this. She knew them, and she knew one thing absolutely for sure at the moment. The only reason they were still going along with this was because she was.
That was an abrupt switch.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. No, abrupt.
Noctis panicked.
Sorry.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's just an abrupt switch. It's like it wasn't so much the picture and stuff that switched that caused me for the abrupt switch. It was literally one music, different music.
Oh, sorry. I do my best.
I never said it was a bad thing. It was good in my opinion. It's just, it startled me a bit.
Sorry.
Is that
Noctis panted, stumbling to a stop and resisting his hands.
Resting
his hands on his knees as his forehead dripped sweat onto the ground. He didn't give Prompto enough credit for doing this every day. Noctis had brought a jacket to avoid being as cold as this morning, but now he was just dying of heat stroke at the same time his lungs were screaming in rebellion to each icy breath. Oh, I know that feeling all too well. He was not a runner, but he couldn't just warp everywhere. One thing you don't know is one reason Noctis isn't a runner is because when he was about 10 years old, he was temporarily paralyzed, and he actually still limps a little bit because of it. When you're playing the game, when you're watching Noctis run, you can actually see the limp in his animation ever so slightly. Anyway, yanking down the zipper, Noctis took off his jacket, tying the sleeves around his waist instead. He had to keep going. Gladio always had said he just needed proper motivation to train harder. Well, he'd found motivation all right, and he wasn't going to give up anytime soon. For once in their lives, Ignis needed him. Noctis wasn't going to let him down like he had the last million times. If he failed this time, Ignis wouldn't be there to scowl and wouldn't be there with a scowl and an exasperated sigh. He wouldn't be there at all, ever.
That's a dark thought, but a true thought.
Noctis growled. Yeah, it's a sad thought. Noctis growled, summoning and hurling his sword. Ignis was a genius. He'd figure out some way to delay until they could get to him, right? If there was anything Noctis knew about his friends, it was that he was stubborn. Ignis should never just lie down and die. Oh, Noctis, what you don't know. Aranea sighed, leaning against the vending machine in the hallway as she decided she wanted to get. Biggs and Wedge and Loki had all scattered around the floor. They were on bond for Biggs, Wedge, and Loki had all scattered around the floor they were on for various reasons, leaving just her and Ignis near office S21, which seemed to have the best view of the city from where Aranea had seen. Ignis was just staring at the view now, completely silent as he sat with his back resting against the small wall separating rooms S21 and S22. Well, resting as best he could with his arms still tied behind his back. The open doorway sat between them, and it felt like an actual divide. On one hand, Aranea was reluctant to pull him into another conversation and learn more about him, but watching him crane his neck so he could rest his head against the wall and stare longingly around the corner at the city while the sun went down was honestly almost as bad. His fire was completely gone. Sometime between meeting that glaive and now, it had just started to drain. Maybe when he'd realized just how many of the people he thought were his allies were actually helping sell him out. You want anything from here? Aranea asked him before she could stop herself. Well, she was going to have to hit Wedge up for a little of the money she'd seen him rob from a register earlier anyway, so why not grab the guy something? Ignis didn't even blink, continuing to stare out at the sunset as its gold-red hue encased the city.
No, thank you.
You sure? We probably won't stop again. I could hang on to it for later. Oh well, that was great. Enforced the fact that they were one step away from turning him over to the Empire.
I'd rather my last meal be something of more substance than 400 calories wrapped in 2 bites of a fake chocolate, if you don't mind.
He said dryly.
The pasta earlier will keep me sustained long enough.
Yeesh, he got even sassier when he wasn't giving it effort. Right. She looked back at the machine, wishing it spat out options instead of carbs. Damn it all. She really wanted to hit something, like Loki, or spear something with her lance, like Loki.
We're with you there!
Yes.
I don't blame you, you know.
She blinked sharply, turning her gaze back to him, his eyes still locked on the city, but he was talking to her. He licked his lips.
Perhaps I was naive, but it seemed to me that Loki has you captive just as much as me. You aren't afraid of him, but you fear for your comrades, and what your refusal to comply will cost them. No.
She let her silence be her answer.
It's all right. Sorry, I had to scratch my eye.
That's okay. voice only of a whisper.
I understand, truly. Oh, the pain.
Son of... Oh, I know. Son of a... Just stop. This is making things worse. Why are you telling me this?
Because I see your conflict, and I thought it'd be best said before we parted ways. After all, I don't have much longer.
No, she agreed. You don't, and you need to focus everything you got on being prepared for the living hell you're going to face. He scoffed softly.
It won't make a difference.
Arnea gritted her teeth in irritation. Look, I know you're dedicated, okay? No one is questioning that. You can't just sneeze at torture and see it as a for sure thing that you won't give up the information you want.
I will not give it up.
Nope, that's not what he said.
Oh.
He said, I will give it up.
Oh.
You need to read.
I read that as that, and apparently I read it wrong.
Yeah, he said, I will give it up.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what? She scowled, waiting for him to continue. His expression was tighter now, but he never tore his gaze from the city.
As I said before, I may be naive on some matters, but I'm not stupid. I'll do my best. I will try my damnedest not to give them what they want. But whether it's sooner or later, they will break me. Loki was right. More experienced, stronger men than I have caved at the Empire's hands. I'm no special case.
Arne tried to swallow past the lump in her throat. He'd been throwing false bravado in Loki's face this whole time. He'd always known it would be over for him if they got him out of the city. That'd likely be over for Lucius with the intel he had to have, and the undercover Imperial force in the glaive. The silence between them stretched. She really didn't know how to reply to that last bit.
Is there a vending machine with water in it around?
Biggs went to look for the drink one. I'll have to ask him. Arnea pushed off the vending machine. If the most she could do was get him water, she was going to get him a damn water.
Shite.
I know. This isn't some ploy to get me away so you can try and escape again, is it? Ignis chuckled softly.
You'll have my word. I'm not going anywhere.
Not that he really could anyway. Even if he managed to get free, Loki was guarding the elevator and stairway. She'd started to leave when his words stopped her.
Thank you, Arnea.
The words themselves weren't odd, but his tone was. He didn't sound like he was thanking her for water. Was it a thank you for not being a horrible kidnapper? Thank you for listening? Thanks for not being happy about anything in general? She didn't know. Yeah, sure thing. Ignis watched Arnea turn a corner, and he let out a shady breath, shifting so he could rise to his knees. It was the only way he could get the leverage he needed. Leverage for what, Ignis? She trusted his words, and he'd not break his word on that. Escape was no longer an option for him. Even if he could cut the bindings on his hands, which was doubtful, the bindings would hide in a way that made it difficult to move his hands at all. There was just enough room to summon his dagger, but cutting free would have been a lengthy process. But he didn't need to cut free. He called on his blade, its familiar weight and shape in his hand, almost a comfort, almost. If he weren't summoning it for what he was. What are you summoning for?
The thing is, we all see this coming, and it doesn't make it any easier to read.
I know. His breathing exercises were long forgotten now as his throat gave a hitch. He didn't need to calm down, not now. A fast pulse would be a benefit in this case. He scrunched his eyes shut as he contorted back to the right angle, gently drawing the blade up from the inside of his right thigh in search of the correct point. One cut, that was all he needed. One cut and this was all over. Noctis would be safe. Gladio, Prompto, his family, his king, Lucius. God, when I was editing this, I was like practically, oh, this gave me so many emotions when I was editing it, and now reading it is even worse. 6. How had it come to this? He should have just run when he had the chance. He'd gotten the information he wanted, but now that was useless. His warnings about the captain would never be heard. He could only hope someone else would discover the truth. He gritted his teeth, barely smothering a yell of pain as his own blade.
His own blade? Don't get me wrong, there's going to be blood, it's just his own blade.
Yeah. His head fell back against the wall behind him, chest heaving as air hissed past his teeth. While he endured a silent agony, blood soaked his blade and gloves, raining on the carpet floor in time with the sweat that was running down his neck and onto his jacket. He released the dagger with a gasp, letting it vanish into the crystal shards that blinked out of existence. I was about to say existentialism, and I'm like, that's a much wrong word. It was done. He slumped against the wall, breathing heavily as moisture gathered in the corner of his eye. You know, I'm so glad I can't hear the game right now, because I know the music I put at this moment, and I know that the music makes it so much worse. No, he wouldn't die here, in this dark, lonely hallway. Stubbornly pushing himself off the wall with his shoulder, he maneuvered himself into Office S21, swallowed his groans as he dragged himself across the room. 6, it hurt, but he didn't have long enough to take it slowly. Average time until unconsciousness when the femoral artery simmered was 30 seconds. Somehow, he'd managed to make pushing himself up to rest one shoulder against the glass wall. Insomnia lay before him, lit up only by the last traces of sunlight. This was what he was dying for, his beautiful home and those who lived in it. He could be at peace with that. His breathing had grown shallow, and he dropped his head forward against the glass, the coolness of the glass seeping past his bangs, his spectacles a hair's width away from contact. Tears gently fell now, blurring his vision as he blinked them away in an attempt to hold on to his clear view of the city as long as possible. Big news! Cold. He felt so cold. A soft sob escaped his mouth, his voice cracking when he tried to use it.
I'm so sorry, Not. I wish there was another way, but I swore I'd do whatever it takes to keep you safe. To keep you safe. Can I read this part?
Oh. You want to read?
I want to read this narrative.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, Not. Had it even been that long ago when the young prince had been so concerned over his father's health that he had been barely able to stay focused on his schoolwork and the housekeeping? For all his apathetic attitude, Ignis knew how deeply his friend could care. This would tear him apart. Gladio, Prompto. They would deal with their grief in their own ways, but they'd have to look after Noct as well. Gladio would shoulder most of the burden. His job would become more difficult, but he would manage. He was strong emotionally and physically. Prompto. He knew all too well that that boy didn't have many friends. Perhaps he, Noct, and Gladio would be brought closer by this. It was the only good thing he could hope for. I wish you all the best, my friends. Ignis felt his energy draining, his eyes slipping fully closed. Godspeed. End.
I'm not okay.
As I was about to say, as the sun sets on Ignis's last day. I'm done.
I remember the first time I read this chapter, it made me cry. So that was 3 Hours by ScribeOfRhapsody. Thank you very much for watching, guys.
I'm not sure if I should say I hope you enjoyed it at this. But I hope it was... I hope it was...
There's nothing you hope for in this instance.
Essentially, I hope it was worth watching. We'll continue on with I think we're on chapter 10. We'll continue on with chapter 11 and get it to you as soon as possible with this cliffhanger.
Yeah.
As for my thoughts on this chapter, well, as you guys seen, for the last 9 chapters, I didn't read any of the narrative, so for me to want to read the narrative should give you a general idea.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everyone.